Welcome to Tammy Nation. Let's go.
I've been running from 9 to 5, been biting my tongue for all this time. Won't let anyone cut me short. I was thinking this was the way to go, and you put up your puppet show. I say cheers to life. No, I'll be no good man's wife. Just leave me alone. I'm running the show. I'm telling you, it's my time to rise up. Live the life I'm proud of. No, you better go home.
Cheers and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Tammy Nation. Tonight, I'm coming on to do a show about an event that I attended this afternoon, that I think that a lot of the things that are said and done by some of these representatives that I saw today will inspire people and put hope back into how you're feeling. A lot of us are fatigued. We've said that over and over, just stressed out or given up or think things aren't going to change out there. But after what I experienced today in my state, it was pretty amazing. And it just reignited the fuel and the fire in me to have hope, be optimistic, and realize that there's a lot of people out there that really want to do the right thing, get this country back, get our moral compass back in check, and all the things of the sort. So what I attended today was an early vote, Get the Vote Out tour. It happened this afternoon in my area, and it was spearheaded by Jim Jordan and Brian Jack and a couple other people that attended as well. And they were just filling us in on some of the changes that have happened in my state. And it made me wonder if maybe there's changes regarding the voting or 2024 in your state as well that you weren't aware of. A couple of these changes I was not aware of, but also the conversations and the upfront personal experience with these people really does, I think, good, because when you see them in person, you can ask them questions. You see their demeanor, you see how they respond. Seeing them in person, they are different off camera per se than on camera. There was some filming going on, but it wasn't like they were in, a major network that was hosting this and they had to stand in front of thousands and thousands of people. So I like the kind of behind the scenes to kind of get to know people and see how they react, they respond, and how they engage in everyday people like you and I when the cameras per se aren't on them. And so I'll start off with a couple of things that I found interesting. One of our senators here in Georgia came out and was saying that required before you can vote, you need a state issued ID or a driver's license, which is pretty good because for a while there, I know controversy was going back and forth. They were trying to make changes. And for the state of Georgia, we know that that's crucial that we have that. Also, you have to now request here absentee mail-in ballots. They don't automatically send them to you. And we know that was a big issue before. So some of these things, like I said, I wasn't aware of. And maybe they've changed in your state or your area as well. And that's encouraging, those two things. And also, when this senator was stating that the lock boxes are now locked up at night. We know that was a big issue the last go around, and there was a lot of controversy surrounding those lock boxes. We saw a lot of video on it, et cetera, et cetera. So those were encouraging words to open up the event this afternoon, early evening. Also, he made the statement that 62% of people across America agree with the illegals being sent out en masse, sending out of the illegals. Now, when you think about 62% of people, it's hard to find 62% of people agreeing on anything. So for that to be such a high number is very, very encouraging. So those are the few of the minor things that they started off with. But, like I said, what changes maybe happened in your town, your area that you weren't aware of? Because like I said, I wasn't aware of these things either. Things change so fast. It gets so convoluted and complicated that it's hard to even know what's going on. So one of the guys that came up first for this event speaking was Burgess Owens. He was a rep from Utah. He felt it was so important to come to Georgia from Utah because everybody needs to get out. He said, and he spoke, and was interesting because he's a former professional football player, and he was an awesome speaker, but he spoke everything in football terms, and it was very cool. Hey, Chris Gilbert, good to see you. It was really cool. He said, we need to get out and hustle week by week as we go into November 5th. We should be exhausted, but know that we gave the good fight. We did our part, and we need to hustle. And it was really cool because he was in the NFL for a long time. He says he knows it's exhausting, but what happens is we need to do our part individually for the hustle. We don't need to worry about the Super Bowl and get ahead of ourselves. So he was very encouraging. He said, do whatever you can do. And some of the things that we've heard or talked about already was door-to-door knocking, spreading information about different events, also phone calls, get our friends or relatives involved in something. And it was really cool because he said it's a team effort, and those who represent us need to be elected through the team effort, and we need to get involved. So he did a really good job. It was the first time I've heard of Burgess Owens speaking or saw one of his speeches, and it was pretty good. The next guy up was Mike Collins. He was really good. He's another Georgia congressman who is also a trucker and a pilot. He's also Trump endorsed. He said the excitement is way more on a higher level than it was in 2016, that he's been traveling with Trump and, following Trump and the policies and stuff since 2016, going to all the different events. And he said that the momentum, the energy, the hope, the encouragement, the activity is way higher from 2016 to now. He said, so he's very encouraged. He said, you get out there and you go to these events, you talk to people, you see how they feel, you see what they want, you see what their mindset is heading into November 2024 here coming up. And he said, be encouraged because there is a good energy. There is fuel to get this country back and, take action with our voting and being able to get out there. And he said that, a lot of the events are really crowded and packed. And I have to tell you, this event I went to this afternoon, it was the most crowded I've seen it. It was standing room only. We were shoulder to shoulder. It was very, very congested in there, but it was a good thing because I've been attending events in this area, in this building, for a couple of years now, and it was never as full as it was today. And that's encouraging because it's a lot of new people that are wanting to know, how do I get involved? I want to make a difference. What can I do? And they want to get direct questions and answers from their representatives or the people that are up for election. And a lot of them did very good today. They stayed after. They were very cordial. I was very impressed. So this main event was over and held for Brian JAX. So Brian JAX is running for congressman. There's a runoff that started today for the 3rd district here. He is also actually born and raised from the city that I live in, which I had no idea about that. But he's in a runoff with somebody, and today was the start of the early voting because I think June 18th or something is when the actual election goes on. So he came out and we had a conversation, and he served too. If you didn't know, he served with Trump in the White House. He was the White House political director. Also, he is now currently one of Trump's senior advisors for his 2024 campaign. I didn't know this either. He's very young, in my opinion. He's 36 years old, but he's got a lot of experience under his belt already because he said that he has been with Trump for a long time. And I'll get to what he said in his speech here real quick, and then I'll tell you what my private conversation with him was. But he said we have over 17 million immigrants here. We have to be a U.S. citizen to vote, Brian said. He said if he gets elected and gets in, that's going to be one of his major things, that we need to get a lot of these illegals out. We hear this blah, 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 talk, right? But he says he's been out there. He's actively engaged in all of this. He said he's seen the damage that it's done across the country and to the average person, you and I. And it's just, it can't stand like this. We can't have our country hold up under these conditions. He said his big thing is accountability is everything. He said that he talks and advises Trump daily, many times a day, actually. And he said, which is on a lot of our minds, and we've been parroting to one another, but maybe it's finally heard by some of these representatives. He said, if you don't hold them accountable, they're going to do it over and over again. And that's so true. Then he spoke on the federal employees. He said that it's very hard to get them fired if they aren't doing their job. And he said he's going to work on it. It's necessary to be able to get people who are not doing their job, eliminating them from their job. He said it's ridiculous. Hey, Lily J, good to see you. So I was very impressed with Brian Jack, up close and personal with him this afternoon. He said people do feel that the Republicans are soft and too soft, and that we have a two-tier justice system. Now, we know Mr. T's been saying that. We know we've been saying that. You know, we feel it. We know it. So when these representatives come out and have an event, even if it's in your area or when it's in your area, you should go and attend, because I think it's crucially important to see people up close and personal, because their demeanor is completely different. You will see if they're really true to what they say when all the cameras are on and there's thousands of people and they have a script. When you can get personal, up close and personal, shake their hands, talk to them eye to eye, and be just a foot or so away from that person, you get a high insight to who they are, what they are, and if they're telling the truth or not. So it's pretty cool. He said also that there's two things that we need to do to get the right people in and keep the bad people out. He said we need to attack their purse strings. We need to defund them. We go for the dollars, because we know when people have money and they have the dollars, you know, they can do whatever. So we need to defund all that. Hey, Kettlehead, good to see you, sir. And number two, he said we need to use the power of the subpoenas, and we need to go through the legal system and process with them. And he said if they lie to Congress, these people, he said they need to go to jail. So what I found in these conversations this afternoon between Jim Jordan and Brian Jack and the other guys that were there is they're all talking very harsh now, instead of, laying back, being soft worded, being very patient and full of, we got to be kind and gentle and we got to include blah, 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 blah. They're like, you know what, now is the time. We've seen what our country, the shape that it's in. Now's the time to take action. We need to hold people accountable. So of course, Brian Jack's in the runoff. He's talking about it. But like I said, he's worked for Trump for many, many years. He said he's a good friend of his now, and that, we have to do locally what we can do. And we've been saying that for a long time now. We need to do our part, whatever that part is. He said the next Congress definitely needs to support the people, and they need to act on what the people's behalf and what they want. So it was very cool to hear that and very refreshing. And I know, politicians, hey, D-Dog, they say what they think you want to hear. And however, he did say after, like I said, the event, he was very polite. He was straightforward, and I really liked him. I got a good vibe from him. I'm going to post a few pictures that I got today, too, at the event after I get off the air. But when I got my turn, I stood in line to talk to him. I stayed after. I stood in line, and I said to him, I said, I really like what you had to say. However, like you said up there, you said we say one thing, and when we get in office, we do another. And I said, I really do hope that you're true to your word, because you got endorsed by Trump, and that comes with a lot of responsibility, because a lot of Americans back him. And I said, that's a big responsibility. And he said, if I don't do what I say and I get in there, I want you to hold me accountable. All of you need to hold us accountable. And every city, every state, whatever it is, if your people do not do what they say they're going to do, you need to take action and hold them accountable. He said you need to be up close and personal with your representatives. You need to meet with them, talk with them. He said talk with people that are in your communities. And, we seem to know this, but we just don't partake in it. Or sometimes some of these people don't seem to be easy accessible. And he said there's no excuse for that. All your representatives represent you. He said, we the people, we are held accountable to you. And he says, so if we don't do what we say and do our part, you need to hold us to task. You need to talk to us, hold us up, and give us accountability for our actions, because our actions should definitely follow our words. He said, we the people really have the power to change our country back to the one that we recognize, that we love. He said, hope is not lost. So like I said, I got inspired by this event today because I've been out of it. There's been a lot of personal stuff that I've been dealing with. Needed to take a break. All of us do. And kind of thought, this is getting towards the end. What's going to be, what's going to be. And you just feel sometimes that, it's the same kind of stories you hear over and over, the same kind of promises you hear over and over. But when you get out and you get in their faces and they get in your faces and you can have a conversation, it makes all the difference. My fire in me is fueled all back up again. And I'll have to tell you, there was a speaker there today that I didn't care for. It seemed very shady. He had a shady past. He was there for support. But the thing is, this guy he's not somebody that has a good record, let's just say. But he got up there and he spoke, and I listened to what he had to say. But there is a vast difference in somebody that's telling the truth, believes what they say, and is telling it from the heart versus somebody that's, just BSing you, or somebody that just wants to get elected. And yes, D-Dog, everyone needs to know their state constitution and the U.S. Constitution. Amen to that. And there's so much. I keep saying there's so much for me to learn yet, but I'm willing to go out there and learn. And if I can do it, believe me, you guys can do it. Maybe you guys have, and you're ahead of me on this, but there's just a passion in there. When you get in the field, you get in the actual game, and you see these people, and I don't care if they're judges, I don't care if they're local representatives running for whatever it is. We actually had a state board school board election official here as well, and people had a lot that they wanted to say to her and talk with her about, and she stayed and had conversations, which I thought was amazing too, because that's what it's all about. Up close and personal, ask the questions that you want to ask. And you don't go attacking these people, obviously. You have a nice, calm conversation, have a nice, calm demeanor, because nobody wants aggressiveness at all. But he did say the time has passed about being soft Republicans, soft in our issues, that we have to fight the good fight the right way and get out there. Then we get on to Jim Jordan, and we know we've gone back and forth with Jordan and stuff, but he did speak really well. He was there for support. He said, and I found this interesting, his conversation was about encouraging people to run for their local offices. And he said, just be aware that if you run, you're going to be attacked. If you run for anything, any kind of political office, you're not going to just get attacked verbally and nasty. He goes, with the way the internet and the way everything is now, it's dirty. It's dirty. He said, but not just verbally and by people, but businesses. He gave some examples about different things that he said or did, and policies, and the supporters or powers that be didn't like it, so he got attacked by them. He said, but the thing is, you have to get in the fight. You can't sit back with your arms crossed and expect change to happen. People are going to say bad things about you. People will attack you because not everybody's going to like you or agree with you. He said, it's not easy, but it's worth it. He goes, take it from me. It's worth it. And then he said this too. He said, we need to make sure everybody that represents us and can have effects in our lives, like the Mr. F guy, the Dr. F guy, he said he never put his name on a ballot, did he? He said, we need to vote people like that in that represent us. He goes, we cannot let those Dr. F's of the world tell us how to run our lives and what we need to do. He said, and they need to tell the truth, because he never tells the truth. And so he went off on him for a little bit, which was pretty amazing too. He was fired up about that. And then he also clarified and said that regarding the raid on Mar-a-Lago, that he got over 100 depositions, and he said these people need to do what they say they're going to do, like Trump has. He said all this back and forth, paperwork tossed here and there, promises made that you don't keep, and the losing of papers. And one set of papers, it's okay for this person to touch and handle, but this person over here, no, they're getting prosecuted for it. He goes, it needs to be balanced out. So he just gave some of the insights and details to what he has dealt with that. And he said, but the good news on all this, and this stuff with Trump especially, and he said, here in Georgia, he said that Fannie Willis case too. He said the good news, these cases are against him are falling apart because they have no merit and nothing like that. They don't have good merit. And, it was really good because he also was talking about Jack Smith. He gave the example about how Jack Smith changed and altered the sequence of the documents seized from the raid on President Trump's house. And he said, you are not supposed to do that. He said, actually, some people call that tampering with the evidence. And he said the physical documents do not line up and match up with the scanned documents. And he said, so much so that he had to file it and tell the court what took place. He said, and of course, the irony in all this JAX Smith stuff is JAX Smith actually mishandled the documents. He's charging President Trump with mishandling. He said the case is falling apart, just like the one here in Georgia with Fani Willis. And that kind of made everybody laugh and clap. And it is true. The very thing that he's charging President Trump with mishandling, he did the same thing, and he had to present what was going on with that. And he said, you know what? People just need to tell the truth. People just need to do what's right. And it's not that hard. He said, but unfortunately, power, money, the struggle is real. Good versus evil is real. And then he ended with a scripture that he likes to use. And it's 2 Timothy 4:7. And he says, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. And he said this scripture represents fight, finish, and keep words of action. So you fight to the finish, you keep your words, and you take action. He said it's not wimpy words, it's not a wimpy saying that we need to stay active and involved in all of this. And unfortunately, I did want a photo with Jordan, but he was escorted out. As soon as he got done, they escorted him out into his waiting vehicle because he was running late. All of them actually were, from traffic issues they encountered coming to the event. And he had another event here in Georgia this evening that he had to get to, so they ushered him out. But I really wanted pictures with Jordan. So I do have a couple photos I took of him on stage that I'll share with you. So I see. What? They won't learn. Effing with T doesn't work. T is a wrecking ball. I know. And the thing is, D-Dog, it's like, the people that have supported him all along, fine. You can trust them. And that's what I like about Brian Jack. Brian Jack is one of them that made it all these years, that didn't switch up on him, that Trump actually endorsed. There's a very select few that Trump has stayed with for a long time because they flipped up whatever they did. The point is they stabbed him in the back, or they just chose to go another way. Whatever it be, Brian Jack, to be there with him in the past from 2019 or so all the way through now, and to be an advisor on his campaign now. And it's a great thing because he's here in Georgia. So to have an advisor from Georgia to get the feel of the people as he's out there is pretty darn cool. And it's a brilliant thing. And, for me to say, I sure do hope you go through with what you say, because an endorsement from Trump is a big responsibility. I'm thinking, Tammy, ding, ding, ding. He's been with Trump forever. So Trump's not going to just endorse him if he doesn't have faith and trust in him. However, some people Trump endorsed, they flipped out or they flipped off. And look what happened with, what's his name, DeSantis. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, dude, fine. But like I said, he's 36 years old and he's been going the course for a long time now. I think that's pretty cool. And for Trump to endorse him, we all say we don't want old and stuff. So now here's some young blood coming in and up that is endorsed by Trump. And he seems like a really great guy. I'll know more because I got invited to ride alongside his float in the 4th of July parade here in Peachtree City. Hey, Larry P. So we'll see how he is with that. And I'll keep my eye on him because I think it's going to be very interesting as time goes on. However, he's about the best one that I've met so far that I have confidence in that will do what he says he's going to do. He also spoke about people over and over saying one thing and doing another just to get in office. And that's why he said that if he gets in, accountability is so important. And, you and I out there, all of us have been talking to each other about accountability. We see it echoed everywhere. So to have somebody that is running for office actually echo the thoughts and feelings of us is pretty amazing, because I did say to him, everything you said on stage is what is on the minds and hearts of the average American citizen, me. I said, people who don't normally follow politics, or aren't involved. I said, Trump woke us up a long time ago. And I said, so those of us are awake now. We're still learning. I said, the thing is, our eyes are open and we're paying attention to what people not just say, but what they do. So like I said, it was a really good conversation. And I just really believe we just have to do our due diligence out there, whatever we can do. He also said that accountability is very important, from the border to the voting issues and all the things that Trump has been talking about. And you guys, like Trump or not, and I've said this since the beginning, he's the only one that I hear out there loud and proud talking about God, country, America, and our veterans. And I even met a couple service members today and found a couple people in my neighborhood that were there. Through conversation, I found out they were my neighbors and they're involved, and they never really were before. And a couple of them are like military people. One of the people there that is also active and one of the leaders in my community was in the military, and he also worked for the Federal Bureau. So the thing is, he said there was no politics allowed in either of his careers that he had, but now that he's out and after everything he saw, that's why he's so active. So when we are hitting our feet on the ground, talking to our neighbors, talking to the people next to us at these events, even if it's a parade, a celebratory thing, or it's just somebody speaking, just start opening up and having a conversation. And you'll be probably surprised at the people that you meet, the people, the experiences they have, the things they want to share, and how they want to get involved. And it's very, very true. We've seen the events that Mr. T has had, how it's grown and grown. We saw in Florida the boat rally they had for him again. And there's a reason for that, because people are just fed up. We know that. We're getting close to November 5th. And, at first I'm thinking, well, will that even happen? Well, will it be fair? But after going through what I went through today and having some conversations with people that are actually involved far more deeper than that I've befriended, I do have renewed faith. I do have renewed strength in the movement. And like I said, it's easy to say, I'm just going to go on with my life. I'm just going to, go and vote, and that's going to be the end of it. And that's your choice. That's your choice if that's what you choose to do. If you've been in this for the long haul and you're fatigued, that's your choice. But for those that really think for the long term and think for our children and our grandchildren and generations to come, I go back to this, that we want to make sure that we leave this country in better shape than when we were in it, that we all long for barbecues and family and celebration of the 4th of July, celebration of our veterans and our great, great military. Our military has not been treated so well. And one of the guys that I talked to today, I actually said, how do you feel about some of these military members wearing skirts? And I can't repeat what he said. And I won't. But the thing is, people feel it. That's the difference now. They're not just thinking it. They're not just all giving up, but there's a fire in people. There's a fire in people to want to win the country back, to be reinvigorated and celebrating this beautiful country, because we see what's happening. We saw what happened at the Capitol the other day with the protesters. They had to put fencing up again. Granted, some of it was only waist high, but what kind of country have we become with the leaders that we become, that they're allowed to surround the Capitol and protest and do what they're doing? What kind of country do we become where we arrest our own for things that we say or feel or do, but not people that are illegals, that are protesting against us in our own country and our own government? It's just insanity. It's so upside down and so crooked. But the thing is, there is faith. There are warriors out there that are continuing the good fight. There are people that I think are realizing that all the promises or so-called things that people said were going to happen that haven't happened, and then they got kind of disappointed and went away for a little bit, came back, shook it off, and straightened their thinking out and their heads out. Whether there is something behind the scenes or not, we still don't know, okay? We still don't know. You can think it, you can believe it, but that's not going to affect anything. We need your thinking it, and just sitting there thinking it and fighting with people online about it doesn't change anything. The change happens when we go and we vote. Well, the change happens when we go and meet people that are actually involved and hold them accountable. That is how we change things. Our voices are loud. Our voices in number are loud, and we will be heard, because people running for different seats are going to realize when we're awake and paying attention, they aren't going to get away with BS in us. If they say one thing here and another thing over here, they're going to get caught. And that's the accountability part for it. And that's true, D-Dog. We are run by corporate interests. That's true, because we haven't been doing the job. That's true. A lot of us got lazy and complacent, or didn't think it was that bad. And oh boy, look at it now. Yes, and DeSantis was worse than Newsom. No one remembers. That is true. And then everybody loved DeSantis because of Trump. And then look what happened with DeSantis. And where is he? What is he doing now? Like I said, I actually said to Brian Jack today, too. I said, I can't believe you're in a runoff. I said, I was for sure that you would just sweep it. And he said, you know what? Runoffs in Georgia are not uncommon. That seems the way of the world in Georgia. So, that's his take on it. And he knows far more than me. He's been in it a lot longer than me. But I was really shocked by that. But I did go out and vote for him right away today, in the first day of the early voting. And then I went and was able to see him at the event and tell him that I supported him 100%. So, it was a good day today, you guys. So I'm just saying all this and telling you about my experience to encourage you that when you see some kind of event in your hometown, go. Just go. Spend an hour or two and just listen. That's the best way to have educated decisions and make them. That's the best way to have knowledge. Sure, you can see them on the internet and, when they do interviews and all that. But boy, if you get a chance to see them in person or have a meeting with them, it really does ring a little more true. And their authenticity hangs in the balance. Yes, you are, or no, you're not. The looks that they give people, are they paying attention to the audience when other speakers are speaking and getting a feel of things? It's not really that hard to see through somebody when they're BSing you face to face. They all have records that you can follow up on as well. Every time I go, I take notes, whether it's on paper or my phone. Half the time I don't even look up at them, but I wait until after the fact to be able to have a conversation with them, even if it's so brief. But I want to make sure that I retain all the things that they say and have notes on it, so then I can do follow up on them when the time comes and I need that information. So that's what I have for you this evening, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and fight the good fight, as they say, as Jim Jordan says with that scripture. That's one of my favorite scriptures now. I fought the good fight, I've finished the race, and I've remained faithful. And I also love what the football guy said. It's terrible to say a football guy, but the representative from Utah, Burgess Owens, when he said, go week by week, day by day. Do what you can. It's a game plan. Make a plan. Do what you can. Don't look from the game plan for this week all the way advanced to the end, which is like the Super Bowl, when he talked in those terms. Because when we miss the in-between from the start and the Super Bowl, we miss everything. There's things we can do, things we can say, changes we can make, that if we just hold out and think everything's going to be okay without participating, we're going to lose. And he said it's a team effort. And a team effort is the United States of America and the U.S. citizens sticking together and doing what they can do, getting out there and voting, and have an educated vote, because, boy, politics are nothing like they used to be at all. And people have lost a lot of confidence in their leaders, their politicians. And there's a lot of people, yes, that have dirty laundry. There's a lot of people that have spoke out of both sides of their mouth. And then you have to decipher, did they change? Did they believe one way and act one way, but then they realized, I don't want to go that path anymore. I'm not going to be bought out or sold out. I'm just going to stay in this lane. Because there's a few of them here in Georgia that they're very popular, that you know of, that people have been questionable about. But the thing is, you do have to have faith and trust in somebody. You can't say, well, I don't trust anybody, so I'm not doing anything. The thing is, we're no worse off. If everybody is bad and everybody's in it for themselves, at least we go for the people that say they stand up for what we believe in, and then we take it from there. Because if we do nothing, which is what a lot of us have been doing for a long time, this is what happens. We lose our grip. We lose everything that we hold sacred from God and our children and what they see and do, the control over our children, the bad things that have happened to society. That's what happens. And we don't recognize, before we know it, we wake up and we don't recognize our country anymore. And that's a very sad thing. So, final thought. If you don't know your rights, you don't know what to protect. Yep, that is a good final thought. That is always a good final thought. And like I said, I kept talking, but thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you again soon, and take care. God bless, and stand up, stand strong. We got this. We got this. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great night.